If I had left 10 minutes earlier, I never would have stayed at his house. If I had not stayed at his house, his mother never would have stood in front of me and say, in a low voice, "I am not just a mom tonight, my name is Ethan." I am 24 and I live in a tiny apartment in downtown Seattle, the kind of place where the kitchen sink is 3 steps from the bed and the neighbors fight loud enough to be part of your life. I work as a junior tech at a small IT company. Most days I fix other people's Wi-Fi, set up office printers, and answer emails from clients who think turning it off and on is a joke. It is not my dream job, but it pays enough for rent and cheap takeout. I am not the guy who chases trouble. I go to work, lift at the gym, play video games at night. I had a girlfriend once for about 6 months. We broke up on a Tuesday. No big fight. She just said you feel half here, and I did not know how to argue with that. Since then, it has just been me. I told myself I liked it that way. No drama, no mess. Then one stormy Thursday, everything shifted. It started with water. I came home late from work, tired and damp from the rain that never seems to quit in this city. My sneakers squeaked on the stairs as I climbed to the 3rd floor. When I pushed my apartment door open, I heard it first. A slow, steady drip. I frowned and flipped on the light. There it was. A dark, wet patch on the ceiling right above my bed. Water fell in slow drops, landing on my pillow, my one good pillow. "You have got to be kidding me," I said under my breath. I dragged a trash can under the leak and called my landlord. He sounded half asleep and twice as annoyed. He said something about an old roof, recent storms, and a repair crew that was backed up for days. "So what am I supposed to do?" I asked, watching another drop hit my bed. "Stay at a friend's place for a bit," he said. "It will dry out." Then he hung up. I stared at the ceiling, phone still in my hand. I did not have family in the city. Most of my coworkers lived with roommates in places even smaller than mine. I was not close enough to any of them to ask for a couch. Then I thought of Ryan. Ryan has been my best friend since high school. We met in gym class when he laughed at my jump shot, and I told him at least I could do a push-up without crying. We have been giving each other a hard time ever since. He works as a mechanic at his uncle's shop and lives out in the suburbs about 20 minutes from me, in a house. A whole house, with a yard and a driveway and a real oven. And his mom. I had met his mom a bunch of times. Her name is Laura. She is 44, I think, though I never asked. She works as a nurse at a private clinic. The first time I saw her was senior year when she picked Ryan up from practice. She stepped out of the car in navy scrubs, dark hair pulled back, eyes a deep, calm brown. Back then I just thought, wow, his mom looks young. Over the years I saw more. Birthday dinners. A barbecue after Ryan's promotion. She always seemed put together. Simple clothes, neat hair, light makeup. Nothing loud. But there was this quiet grace about her, like she moved through life on her own steady rhythm. After her husband died in an accident when Ryan was 15, she did not talk much about it. She smiled when she had to, kept the house nice, worked long shifts, carried on. You could tell she had learned how to hold herself up, alone. I pulled out my phone and texted Ryan. "Dude, my ceiling is leaking straight onto my bed. Landlord says it will take days. Any chance I can crash at your place for a bit?" His reply came fast. "Get your ass over here. Mom will say yes." So I stuffed some clothes, my laptop, and my toothbrush into a backpack, threw on a dry hoodie, and drove out of the city. The rain was hard enough that my wipers could barely keep up. Streetlights blurred against the windshield. Ryan's neighborhood was the kind you see in quiet car commercials. Clean lawns, trees lining the road, soft yellow light in the windows. His house sat at the end of a short cul-de-sac. 2 stories, gray siding, small porch with a swing. A warm glow spilled from the front windows. I parked at the curb and jogged up the path. The rain soaked my hair before I even reached the door. I knocked. Ryan yanked it open and grinned. "You look like a wet dog," he said. "Get in here." The house was warm and smelled like something good had been in the oven recently. Maybe cookies. Maybe roast chicken. Wood floors, soft lamps, a few framed photos on the walls. Ryan as a kid. Ryan with his dad, both in baseball caps, laughing. Laura stepped out from the kitchen, drying her hands on a dish towel. She wore a dark green sweater and black leggings. Her hair was in a low ponytail. No scrubs, no ID badge. Just her. "Ethan," she said, her voice soft but precise. "Ryan told me about your leak. You are welcome to stay as long as you need." "Thank you, Miss Hart," I said automatically. She gave a small smile that did not quite reach her eyes. "Laura is fine," she said. "We are not at a parent-teacher conference." "Right. Sorry. Thank you, Laura." Her name felt strange and warm on my tongue at the same time. Ryan clapped a hand on my shoulder. "You can take the pull-out in the den," he said. "TV, Wi-Fi, and Mom's rules. Which means no shoes on the carpet and no leaving pizza boxes in strange places." I lifted my hands. I can live with that. We ate leftovers at the kitchen table. Ryan talked about a car he was working on. Laura listened, asked a few smart questions about his training, then turned to me. "How is work, Ethan?" she asked. "Ryan says you fix computers for a living." "Something like that," I said. "I help people who never learned how to restart anything." She laughed, a quiet sound that made her eyes soften. "That must take patience." "Sometimes," I said. "Sometimes it just takes the mute button and a deep breath." She shook her head, amused, and sipped her water. After dinner, Ryan went to the living room to play a game. Laura cleaned up. I tried to help with the dishes, but she waved me off. "You are the guest," she said. "Go lose to Ryan." By the time we were done yelling at the screen and pretending not to take it seriously, it was close to midnight. Ryan stood and stretched. "I have an early shift tomorrow," he said. "I am crashing. Make yourself at home, man. You know where everything is." He headed upstairs, leaving me in the quiet den with the glow of the TV and the sound of the rain against the windows. I pulled out the sofa bed and tossed my bag on the floor. The sheets smelled clean, like fresh laundry and a hint of something floral. Probably her detergent. I lay on my back and stared at the ceiling fan. This is fine, I told myself. A few days. Sleep, work, thank them, go home. Simple. But as I drifted towards sleep, my mind kept replaying small things. The way Laura's hand brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear. The tired set of her shoulders when she thought no one was looking. The way she said my name, slow and careful. I had no idea that before the week was over, Ryan would leave me alone in this house. And his mother would stand in the doorway at night, look at me with those steady brown eyes, and say words that would change everything. I woke up the first morning to the smell of coffee and something warm in the oven. For a second I forgot where I was. The ceiling was not my cracked apartment ceiling. The light was softer, filtered through curtains instead of broken blinds. Then I heard Ryan's laugh from down the hall and the clink of dishes. Right, his house. No leak, no landlord. I pulled on a t-shirt and walked to the kitchen. Ryan sat at the table in sweatpants, scrolling his phone. Laura stood at the stove in an oversized gray sweater and leggings, pulling a tray of biscuits from the oven. The room smelled like butter, coffee, and something that felt like a memory I never had. "Morning, Ethan," she said, glancing over her shoulder. "Sleep okay?" "Better than at my place," I said. "No rain in my face." Ryan snorted. "Yeah, man, my mom runs a real hotel here. Breakfast and everything." She rolled her eyes, but there was a ghost of a smile there. "Sit, both of you," she said. "Eat before it gets cold." We did. She set a plate of scrambled eggs and biscuits on the table and poured coffee into 3 mugs. I noticed she poured mine black without asking. I had only told her once. "You are working today, Ethan?" she asked, sitting down with her own plate. "Yeah," I said. "I can log in from here. I will stay out of the way." "You are not in the way," she said. "Use the dining table if you want. Wi-Fi password is written on the fridge." Ryan groaned. "Do not tell him that, Mom. He is never going to leave." "That is fine," she said calmly. I like having someone here who closes the fridge all the way. I laughed, almost choking on my coffee. Ryan flipped a piece of biscuit at her. She dodged it without looking. The easy way they moved around each other made something in my chest tighten. My house had never felt like this. After breakfast, Ryan grabbed his keys. I have a double shift, he said. Oil changes all day. Try not to get fired from your little hacker job. IT job, I corrected. Try not to drop a car on yourself. He punched my shoulder lightly and leaned down to kiss his mom's head. Bye, Mom. Be careful, she said, looking up at him with that sharp, quiet concern only moms have. The door shut behind him, and the house fell into a different kind of silence. Not empty, exactly, just smaller. I set up my laptop at the dining table. The wood was smooth under my forearms. My charger reached the outlet by the wall. Laura moved around the kitchen, cleaning up, humming under her breath. After a while, she disappeared down the hall. I heard water in a sink, the soft thud of drawers. I tried to focus on my work tickets. I answered emails, reset passwords, ran a scan on a client's system. It should have been just another day. But I kept catching small sounds. The washer starting. A cupboard closing. Her footsteps passing the doorway. Around noon, she came back in, her hair now pulled into a low knot, a light blue blouse replacing the sweater. You hungry? She asked. A bit, I admitted. I can make a sandwich. Sit, she said, brushing a hand toward my chair. I am already in the kitchen. She put together simple turkey sandwiches, chips on the side, a couple of apple slices. We sat at the dining table, my laptop pushed to one side. So your family is not in Seattle, she said. I shook my head. My parents are in Arizona. They retired early. I moved here for work. I have not gone back much. That must get lonely, she said. Not a question, just a quiet fact. Sometimes, I said. The city is loud, but it is not the same as company. She nodded slowly, like she understood that too well. Ryan said your husband passed when you were 15, I added carefully. Pretty rough. He was 14, she corrected softly. And yes, it was. Her eyes went distant for a moment. Then she pulled them back. We made it through. Ryan is a good man. He is, I said. He would give you his last slice of pizza. He better not, she said, a small, real smile showing for the first time that day. He eats enough as it is. The tension eased. We ate. She asked about my work. I told her a funny story about an older client who thought the internet was inside his keyboard. She laughed, covering her mouth like she was not used to letting that sound out. The day settled into a pattern. I worked. She went out for her shift at the clinic. By late afternoon, Ryan thundered through the door, throwing his bag down, complaining about oil stains. Dinner was noisy again. Basketball game on. Jokes flying. It almost felt normal, ordinary, like I could stay forever. On the third day, Ryan came into the den with a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. You are bailing already? I asked. Work trip, he said, dropping the bag on the sofa. Boss wants me to ride along to Spokane for some training thing. We are leaving in an hour. Back tomorrow night. He looked at me. You are good here, right? Mom said, it is fine. I blinked. You want me to stay while you are gone? Yeah, he said. Why not? The leak at your place is not fixed, right? Probably not, I said, thinking about my sad ceiling. He clapped my shoulder. Then you stay here. Mom likes the company. She gets weird when the house is too quiet. From the kitchen, we heard her say, I heard that. Ryan grinned. Love you, Mom. A few minutes later, Laura stepped into the doorway, wiping her hands on a towel. She was in dark jeans and a soft white top. Her hair was down, falling over one shoulder. Ryan says he told you, she said to me. Yeah, I said. But I can go if it is too much. You do not need a stranger in your house alone. You are not a stranger, Ethan, she said. You are Ryan's friend. You have been here so many times I should start charging you rent. My chest relaxed a little. Only a little. Okay, I said. If you are sure. I am sure, she said. I am working evening shift today anyway. You will have the house to yourself for a while. Ryan left in a rush, hugging his mom, yelling a goodbye over his shoulder to me, and then he was gone, the front door closing behind him with a soft click. The house felt different almost right away. Quieter. Not empty, but full of small sounds instead of big ones. The hum of the fridge. The clock on the wall. The rain starting up again outside, steady against the windows. Laura checked the time. I need to go soon, she said. My shift starts at 4. There are leftovers in the fridge if you get hungry. There is a spare key on the hook. Lock up if you leave. You sure you are okay with this? I asked again. Me, staying, I mean. She paused by the counter, fingers resting on her bag. Ethan, she said, I have spent a lot of nights in this house alone. It is nice to know someone is downstairs, even if I am not here. It makes the walls feel less close. The way she said it made my chest ache. I nodded. I will be here, I said. She gave me a small, grateful look and then left, the door shutting gently behind her. For a few hours, it really was just me in the house. I walked from room to room, not snooping, just noticing. The family photos in the hall, the stack of piano music on the side table, a half-finished knitting project on the arm of a chair, little pieces of a life built after loss. By the time the sky turned dark, the rain had gotten heavier. I threw myself into a late ticket from work to keep my mind busy. When I finally closed my laptop, it was almost 9. Headlights swept across the front window. A car door shut. I heard keys in the lock. Laura stepped in, shaking water from her hair. Her scrub top was hidden under a long, dark coat. She looked tired, but more relaxed now that she was home. Long night, I asked. They always are, she said, but there was no complaint in her tone, just fact. She hung up her coat and kicked off her shoes, padding into the living room in socks. The rain beat hard against the glass. Power flickered once, twice, then steadied. Storm is bad, she said, glancing at the window. You okay? Yeah, I said, just answering emails. Your couch is starting to think I live here. Maybe it likes you, she said. Her mouth twitched. She went to the kitchen and came back with 2 mugs of tea, not coffee. Handed one to me and sat on the armchair across from the sofa bed. We sat in comfortable quiet for a while, sipping the hot drink, listening to the storm. The light from the lamp beside her cast her face in a warm glow. I could see the faint lines at the corners of her eyes, the curve of her throat, the way she relaxed more and more as the minutes passed. I should have been thinking about my work, my apartment, Ryan getting back tomorrow. Instead, I was thinking about how it felt to be alone in this house with her, about how many nights she had spent like this without anyone else there. The thunder rolled low in the distance. She glanced at the ceiling. If the roof starts leaking in here too, she said, I am moving into your apartment. You would hate it, I said. The oven tilts and my neighbor sings off key. Her eyes met mine across the space. Maybe, she said, but I guess it depends who I am sharing it with. For a heartbeat, something passed between us that had nothing to do with roofs or rain. I looked down at my mug, my pulse up for no good reason. I told myself I was imagining it, that I was tired, that the storm was getting into my head. I had no idea that by the time this storm was over, pretending would not be an option anymore. The storm got worse as the night went on. Rain hammered the windows like someone was throwing handfuls of gravel against the glass. Wind hissed around the corners of the house. Every few minutes, the lights flickered just enough to make my stomach tighten. Laura glanced up each time, but her face stayed calm. Years of night shifts in a hospital probably made a power outage look like a small problem. We sat there in the living room, just the two of us, mugs warming our hands, the lamp casting a soft circle of light. Everything outside that circle felt far away. You do not mind storms, she asked. Not really, I said. I mind leaks more. She smiled, a quick, tired curve of her mouth. Fair. She tucked one leg under herself in the armchair. The sweater she wore slipped a little at the shoulder when she moved, showing a thin strap and a small line of skin. I caught myself staring and dragged my eyes back to my mug. She watched me for a second like she noticed that, then looked at the window. "I used to love storms," she said. "When Ryan was little and my husband was still alive, we would sit on the porch and count the seconds between lightning and thunder. It felt safe then. Like the world could be loud, but our little house was solid." Her voice softened on the last word. "And now?" I asked. "Now," she said, "storms just remind me how big everything is out there and how small it can feel in here when you are alone." The honesty of it hit me. No joke in her tone. No shield. "You are not alone tonight," I said quietly. She looked back at me. I felt that look all the way down my spine. "No," she said, "I am not." Right then the power cut out. Lamp snapped off. The fridge hum died. We were thrown into dark so fast it felt like the room vanished. I heard her sharp breath in the quiet. "You okay?" I asked. "I am fine," she said. Voice steady, but lower now. My phone screen lit up my hand and part of the room in blue. The rain sounded even louder without the hum of the house. "Stay there," she said. "I have candles." I heard her stand and move toward the kitchen, her steps sure even in the dark. A drawer slid open. A lighter clicked. A moment later, a small flame bloomed on the coffee table as she lit a thick candle in a glass jar. Then another. Warm light slowly pushed the shadows back. She came back and set a third candle near the armchair, her face now painted in gold and soft shadow. The flicker made her eyes look deeper. "Better," she said. "Yeah," I said. "The place looks kinda different like this." She smiled. "Less like a mom's house, more like a ghost story," she said. I laughed quietly. I could feel my own heartbeat more in the dark between the candles. We sat again. The storm became a wall of sound around the small island of light we had built. Her mug was empty now. So was mine. She took both, set them aside, then sat back without the barrier of anything in her hands. "You know," she said after a while, "I am used to being the one who takes care of people. At work, at home, everyone needs something. Pills, papers signed, food, advice. I know how to do that." She rubbed her thumb along the seam of her jeans like she was thinking about each word before letting it go. "But sometimes," she said, "I forget what it feels like when someone just sits with me without needing anything." I shifted forward on the sofa, elbows on my knees. "I do not need anything from you," I said. Her eyes flicked to mine, sharp. "Maybe not in the way my patients do," she said. "But you could have gone to a hotel. Or another friend. You came here. You stayed. That is something." I opened my mouth, then closed it again. She was right. I could have tried harder to find somewhere else. But when Ryan texted back yes, something in me had relaxed, in a way I did not question. "I like it here," I said finally. "It feels different than my place." "Different how?" she asked. "Like someone cares what happens inside it," I said. "Like the walls remember people talking instead of just hearing the TV." Her face softened in a way that made my chest ache. "Thank you," she said. "Most of the time it feels like I am just keeping it together out of habit." She looked down at her hands. "It is strange," she added. "Ryan is grown now. He has his own life. He comes and goes. I am proud of him. I want that for him. But some nights I walk through this house and it feels like I am living in a waiting room." "Waiting for what?" I asked. She gave a small, sad laugh. "I do not know," she said. "For something to change. For someone to notice I am still here." The last part came out so soft I almost did not hear it. Without thinking, I moved. I slid from the sofa to the edge of the coffee table, closer to her, staying on my side of the candle but closing the empty space a little. "I notice," I said. The words surprised me with how true they felt. "I notice you." Her eyes lifted. The candle between us flickered high, then eased down. "Do you?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "I notice you remember how I take my coffee after one time." I notice you listen when I talk about stupid tickets from work, like it matters. I notice you move around this house like it is all on your shoulders and you think no one sees that. My throat was tight now. I swallowed. I see you, I said, not just as Ryan's mom. Silence dropped heavy between us. She did not speak for a moment. Her jaw worked like she was trying to hold something back and could not. Do not say things you do not mean, she said quietly. I would not, I said. She let out a breath that sounded like it had been stuck inside her for weeks, maybe years. The thunder rolled close. The lights stayed off. Only the candle flame moved and the pulse in my neck. You know this is wrong by most people's standards, she said, her voice steady again but low. I am your best friend's mother. I am 20 years older than you. People love to have opinions about women like me. Her eyes did not leave mine. Do you care what they say? She asked. I thought about Ryan, about the house, about my leak, about her sitting alone in this room when storms hit and everything was dark. I care what you say, I answered. Her lips parted like she had not expected that. She stood up slowly, like every motion was a decision, and walked around the table to my side. The candle threw long shadows across the floor. I stayed where I was, heart pounding. She stopped in front of me, close enough that I could see how tired she was and how beautiful that did not erase. Close enough that I could smell the faint, clean scent of her shampoo under the trace of hospital soap. She reached out and rested her hand on my shoulder. Her fingers were warm. They tightened just a little, like she was checking if I was real. You are making this very hard, Ethan, she said. There was a hint of a shake in her voice now. Hard how? I asked, my own voice barely there. Hard to pretend I do not feel anything, she said. Hard to act like you are just a guest on a couch downstairs. Her hand slid from my shoulder to my jaw, fingers light but sure. My skin buzzed under her touch. I looked up at her. She was watching me with that same raw, open look I had seen for only a moment in the kitchen when our hands touched. My mind flashed through a dozen warnings. Ryan, age, lines you do not cross. I should have stepped back. I did not. Laura, I said, testing her name the way it felt in my mouth when everything else was stripped away. Her eyes closed for a second, like that one word did something to her. When she opened them again, the sound of the storm outside seemed to fall away. She leaned in a little, her hands still at my face, her thumb brushing just under my lower lip. Her voice dropped to a whisper that I felt as much as heard. Ethan, she said, my best friend left me at his house. That night, his mother said something she should not. She swallowed, then finished, each word clear in the candlelight. I am not just a mom tonight. For a moment, after she said it, the house felt completely silent. The storm was still pounding the roof. The candles were still burning. But all I could hear was my own heartbeat and her breathing in front of me. I am not just a mom tonight. The words hung between us like a live wire. Her hand was still at my jaw, fingers warm against my skin. I could feel the slight tremble in them now. She was not playing. She was not teasing. She was standing there, fully aware of everything that sentence meant. Laura, I said, my voice low. Are you sure you want to say that to me? Her eyes did not flinch. If I was going to back out, that was my chance. Instead, she stepped a little closer. No, she said. I have not been sure of anything for a long time, but I know I am tired of pretending I do not feel like a woman just because people expect me to stay in one lane. Her hand dropped from my jaw to my shoulder, fingers curling there. I know what I am to Ryan, she said. I know what I am supposed to be to everyone else. I am his mother. The widow. The nurse. The steady one. I will always be that for him. But every time I walk through this house alone, I feel like I disappear a little more. She took a breath and let it out slowly. Tonight, she said, you are the only person who sees me as anything else. Her honesty hit me hard. My throat felt tight. I reached up and covered her hand with mine, holding it against my shoulder. I see you, I said again. Not just tonight. Her eyes softened. but the tension in her shoulders did not go away. "Say it is wrong," she said quietly. "Tell me I am being ridiculous, and I will laugh it off and go make us more tea. You will sleep downstairs, and in the morning we will pretend I never said it." I looked up at her, really looked, at the lines around her eyes, at the softness of her mouth, at the tired strength that had kept this house upright for years, at the fear and the hope fighting in her face. I could have said it. I could have pulled back and called it a misunderstanding. I could have saved us both from the fallout. But the word would not come. "Nothing about this feels ridiculous," I said. "Complicated, yes. Dangerous, maybe. But not ridiculous." Her lips parted. The flicker in her eyes changed. "Ethan," she said, "what do you want?" My chest felt tight, like my ribs were too small for my lungs. "I want to kiss you," I said. "But I also do not want to hurt you, or Ryan, or anyone. I do not want to be some mistake you regret in the morning." Her jaw clenched. Tears gathered in the corners of her eyes but did not fall. "Do you think I do not know my own mind?" she asked softly. "I have lived a lot of quiet years. I know the difference between a mistake and something that wakes you up." Her hand slid from my shoulder down my arm until our fingers met. She laced them with mine. Her grip was firm. "You are not a child, Ethan," she said. "You are not my student. You are not my son. You are a grown man in my house because my son trusts you. I trust you. The only question now is whether we trust ourselves." The storm rolled outside, deep and low. I stood up from the coffee table so we were the same height. Our hands stayed joined. We were close enough that I could feel the heat from her body, the softness of the sweater under my fingers. "If we do this," I said, "we cannot pretend it did not happen." "I know," she said. "We cannot tell Ryan right away," I added. "It would crush him. He needs his mom, not a story about his friend, and some secret." Her eyes flashed with pain at that, but she nodded. "I am not asking you to announce it," she said. "I am not sure I am even asking you for anything more than tonight. All I know is I do not want to go to bed feeling like a ghost next to someone who finally sees me." She looked almost angry at herself for wanting that. I took a deep breath. "Okay," I said. "Then tonight we are just two people. Not labels, not roles, just you and me." Slowly, I lifted my free hand and brushed a strand of hair away from her face. My fingers tucked it behind her ear. Her eyes fluttered shut at the touch, then opened again. "Are you scared?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "Are you?" "Always," she said. "But I am more scared of going back to not feeling anything." That was enough. I leaned in, giving her every chance to move away. She did not. Instead, she stepped closer, one hand sliding to my chest, resting there like she was testing the beat of my heart. Our lips met. The kiss was not hard or rushed. It was slow at first, cautious, like we were both afraid to break it. Her lips were soft and warm, her hand tightened in mine. I felt a small sound rise from her throat. Something caught between a sigh and a sob, and it made my chest ache in a way that had nothing to do with guilt. I pulled back a little to search her face. Her eyes were shining. One tear had escaped and traced a line down her cheek. "Sorry," she said, half laughing through the breath. That was not very smooth. I wiped the tear with my thumb. "You have nothing to be sorry for," I said. "We are just out of practice." She laughed again, a real laugh this time, short and shaky. Then she kissed me again. This time there was less caution, more want. My hand slid to her waist, feeling the curve of her hip under the soft fabric. Her fingers moved to the back of my neck, holding me there like she was afraid I would vanish. The candles burned low. The storm outside kept its own rhythm. In that small pool of light, there was no landlord, no leak, no best friend, no rules. Just a woman who had been alone too long, and a man who did not want to back away from her. We did not rush whatever came after that. We did not tear clothes or stumble blindly. We moved slowly, talking between kisses, checking in without using those exact words. "Are you okay?" I asked more than once. "Yes," she said every time, and each one sounded more certain. When we finally stopped, the candles had burned down to short stubs. The power had stayed off. The house was warm with the last breath of the storm and the heat we had built between us. We ended up lying on the sofa together, my back against the cushions, her head on my chest, her hand resting over my heart. A blanket was thrown over us that I did not even remember pulling down. For a long time we just lay there, staring at the ceiling we could barely see. "This cannot last," she said quietly. "Not like this. Not with secrets and storms. At some point, you will have to go back to your life. I will go back to mine." I swallowed. "I know," I said. "But it is here now. We cannot unknow it." She turned her face slightly, her cheek brushing against my t-shirt. "Do you think I am terrible?" she asked. "Be honest." "No," I said. "I think you are human." She let out a long, slow breath. "You know," she said, "when Ryan's father died, I promised myself I would never do anything that could hurt him. Not one thing. I built my whole life around that. Work, sleep, bills, baseball games, repeat. I forgot there was any part of me outside of that. Tonight feels like breaking that promise and saving myself at the same time." Her words hit something deep inside me. "Maybe loving your kid and letting yourself feel something are not enemies," I said. "Maybe you get to be both." She was quiet. I could feel that idea sinking in like water in dry ground. "What about you?" she asked. "What happens when you go back to your leaky apartment and your clients and your quiet life? Am I just a story you tell yourself when it gets lonely?" I shook my head, even though she could not see it. "You are not a story," I said. "You are a person I care about. Even if this is all we get, I will not pretend it did not matter." She pressed closer at that, like she was trying to climb into that promise and hide there. We must have fallen asleep like that at some point, because the next thing I remember is pale light pressing against my eyelids. The storm had passed. The house was quiet again. My neck ached from the angle. My arm was numb under her weight. She was still there, curled against me, eyes closed. For a second, I let myself just look at the way her hair fell across her face, at the peace there that I had not seen before. Then she opened her eyes, and reality rushed back in. "Morning," I said. "Morning," she replied, her voice rough. She pushed herself up slowly, rubbing a hand over her face. The blanket slipped. She caught it and pulled it tight around herself. We both sat up. The living room looked different in daylight. Less like a secret, and more like a place where real life happened. "Ryan," she said suddenly, checking the time on her phone. "He will be back this afternoon." I nodded. My stomach twisted. We moved around each other, getting dressed properly, straightening the cushions, blowing out the last candle wick. It almost felt like cleaning up after a party no one knew had happened. In the kitchen, she poured coffee. For a moment, we were back to that safe scene. 2 mugs. The hum of the fridge. The quiet. We leaned against opposite counters, holding our cups. "Last night happened," she said. "No matter what we decide now, that will always be true." "Yeah," I said. She looked at me, eyes calm again, but softer. "I am not going to ask you for promises," she said. "We do not know what we are yet. We do not know if we can be anything at all outside of this house. All I ask is that you do not lie to me, or to yourself. If this becomes too much, you tell me. If you want more, you tell me. We decide together." I nodded. "Deal." She hesitated, then stepped closer and rested a hand on my cheek, thumb brushing my jaw like she was memorizing the shape. "Thank you, Ethan," she said. "For seeing me, for staying, for not treating me like I am broken." "You are not broken," I said. "You are tired. There is a difference." She smiled, a small, real smile that made my chest feel lighter. Ryan's car pulled into the driveway a few hours later. I heard the crunch of tires, the slam of the door, his voice calling out, "Mom! Ethan! I am back!" I caught Laura's eye. For a second, my heart pounded so hard I thought it would knock over my coffee. She put a hand on my arm once, quick and reassuring, then stepped away. "Welcome home," she called, her voice easy and warm. Just a mom again, at least on the surface. I walked to the front hall with her. Ryan came in, grinning, talking fast about the trip. I clapped his shoulder, laughed at his stories, forced my face to stay normal. Under all of it, One thing stayed clear. My name is Ethan. I am 24. My best friend left me at his house when my own ceiling was falling apart. That night,